Oh, hi guys. Oh, sorry, I was just taking a nap, waiting for you guys to get here. I just thought I'd just have a little bit of coffee. I mean, it's getting chilly out. I mean, it's really cold here in California. I mean, the weather's really bad. It's bad here. It's at least like 80 degrees. But it gets down to about 65 in the night, so it gets really cold. All right, fine. Maybe some of you are digging out snow right now. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing with you. We can share a little cup of something here. Because, last time we actually had the coffee shop, I decided to come back here to see if some of you were going to join me here. But not a lot of you did. So I was rather upset. Actually, somebody did send me a little note and said that he came and joined me and I wasn't there. But, I mean, you got to turn up on time. Everybody's got to turn up on time. Otherwise, how am I going to actually hang in this coffee shop forever? I've got 3 kids. I've got a wife that's going to tell me to come home early. If she found out I'm in the coffee shop, I'm in dead trouble. I've had it. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure you get here on time. Appointments are going to be done on time. So you know what? I think at this point, I think it's about time I should go home. Really. Yeah. I want to sit by the fire. I think. Ready? Okay. Oh, that's better. Much better. Thank you so much. I think I'll take my sword experience. Cocoa. Oh, that's good. Love the little bit of cocoa. What do you guys eat drink in the New Year? Because you've got New Year's coming up very soon, and you've got Christmas as well, and I hope you're going to have a fabulous time. I know I am. I've got kids opening presents and stuff. My son is extremely excited. Extremely. Here's this, and we put the shoes out for, I don't know, do you guys have this on the 6th of December? You put the shoes out for Father Christmas, and you put in the shoes the lists of what you want. And then the next morning you find out whether the elves have come and taken your list to Father Christmas to actually give you the toys that you're looking for. And whether or not you've been good or bad, there's either like a bunch of cookies or sweet stuff in there or coal. Well, my kids got both this year. They got a bit of coal and they got a bit of cookies and stuff. So they were kind of like, well, I said, well, I don't know if you're going to get everything you want this year. That actually allows me to be out of the thing that, my son actually wanted he wanted a Nintendo Switch. And although I was going to give it to him, we really struggled to give it to him. I just can't give it to him because it's another one of these devices like this the entire time. And he plays with his friends anyway. And I'm just thinking, oh gosh, you play on the computer, you play, they play these games on the computer all the time, which are learning games, but they're still on the computer. I just don't want them sitting at home the entire time on the Nintendo Switch doing this. So instead, he's obviously, some of you already know, he's into soccer or football, for those of you that are in the know. And skateboarding and tennis, and so he keeps asking about doing a YouTube channel. So we've got him a little surprise camera for him to use, which will be kind of fun. So I think he'll be excited about that. But then I'll have to say to him, well, if you didn't leave your if you hadn't been good all the year, maybe you would have gotten a Nintendo Switch. But as you see, when the elves came, they left you some coal, which meant they were kind of dicey about it. Maybe next year. With good excuse, I've got another year to actually get away with that. Somebody actually asked me what was my favourite holiday movie. I think James Gibson asked me that. Hey James, how are you? My kids have been watching a lot of Home Alone lately, which is a fantastic movie. I loved it, but I'm sick of it now because I know all the "Hey, you dirty rat!" And my son goes, and the funny thing is, my son kept doing that, and then for some reason, on some app or something he's done, they found they have a quote from a famous film that most of you will know, is just, "Say hello to my little friend," right? So my son keeps going around the house going, "Say hello to my little friend." So I said to him, "Do you know where that comes from?" He goes, "Yeah, it comes from whatever program, like a kids program." I went, "No, it's not that. It's not from that one." "What is it from?" I said, "All right, I'll tell you what, I'll just show you that scene," because I didn't want to show him the rest of the film. I just show you. So I showed him Pacino come out with the gun. "Say hello to my little friend." So now, guess what? He's going around the house. He loved it. Going around the house to the dog, to the wife, to the babe. "Say hello to my little friend." I think I created a monster. Anyway, the other film I kind of do like is Christmas Story with James Stewart. Always loved that movie. It just had some, and that's why it's such a favourite at Christmas time, because it has so much heart, which I think is what the holiday season is about. And I know this year we've had a lot of stuff go buy it. And that's why, you know, it's an important time right now for your kids, for us, to at least have that respite from everything else that's going on in the world. And you know, I think it's important to let the kids have as normal of a Christmas as possible, because many of them, a very high percentage of them, will be will have been sitting at a computer doing distance learning or homeschool learning. So for them to have some sort of normality without having seen their friends, without being going out and socializing as much as they did before, I think to do this actually allows them to then go back into the school world afterwards and say, okay, I've had my time. It's great. I did this. You know, at least it gives you at least about 2 weeks before they start going, oh, this is boring, you know, again. So, you know, that's really kind of what I think the reason behind that is, and, you know, I think that's important. I think all of us need that to start the new year in, because this thing is not going away. If any of you think this is going to go away in the new year, it's not. Because think about it. The vaccine that's coming out, great, the vaccine's come out. But the problem with the vaccine is when you have the vaccine, you're now immune. But it doesn't mean you're not going to be able to be a spreader of the disease, which may mean there's going to be a larger amount of spreading, because those people that have taken the vaccine are going to be going, oh, I'm not going to get the vaccine now. I'm fine. I'm cured. No, you got to be still careful. And then on top of that, all the events, all these big concerts and, you know, sword experiences, for instance, indoors, can happen for a long time, not just because it's unsafe, but because a lot of people will go, I'm not so sure I really want to go and spend my time in contact with those people. So all our sword experiences in the new year will probably all be outside. We probably won't be having any indoors, and if we do, it'll be in a massive warehouse, and social distancing will still have to happen with our guidelines, which obviously include face masks, etc., etc. So just for you to know that I've got a bunch of other stuff I'm going to kind of announce this morning, but I'm going to do that one at a time and answer your questions gradually as David sticks it up in front of me this time. He's actually holding it up. He's hiding the next one from me because he doesn't say, he wants to hide it like this so I can't see it. You know, he says, Priscilla May says, what has 2020 brought me? Actually, you know what? 2020 has been a great year for me, and for the sword experience, and for my family in a sense, and it's been a hard year, but I think I always thrive in those moments when I get challenged, because I've got to find a way through it. And I think what it's given me, my businesses have done fairly well in the planning stages. So what I think 2020 has given me is a little respite to actually sit there and go, how can I make this better, and how can I make it work in 2021? Knowing that things will be changed drastically. And that's one of the things I'm going to talk to you about this morning regarding the sword experience, is we have a brand new platform that we're going to be doing a beta testing on January 23rd, I think it is, of this platform. And only 50 people are going to be allowed to be on this platform. And it will have several guests from different places. We'll be announcing it very shortly on the site, and the Patreon people will get first dibs at this because you guys have supported us. So we're going to give you first dibs before we let it out. I think those places are going to get picked up very quickly, because we're going to have a really interesting thing. It's going to be kind of a convention online. There's going to be a lot of different places you can go to. We're working on the platform right now, how you can get different things. So this is something that we've been working on, but logistically we have to figure out if it works first, and then we can really grow it and put it into a lot of different genres. We might even do a Highlander themed one. We might do an arrow themed one. We might do a whole different bunch of things, weapons, comic book artists. So we're really looking at creating that, and I think that's what 2020 has given us, the ability to create and grow. That said, the website that I keep promising is going to be coming out is still being in development. We've had some issues with the developers on the actual site itself. So our shop, when you put that many products, we have a number of products on there now. We've brought out a whole bunch of new things. Plus, we've got about 2 or 3 more that we're in development with at the moment we'll bring you in the new year. But the ones we have right now have to be on there correctly, so you understand them, and that they are, you know, some of them are very limited editions. They're just going to go out one time or 2 times and they'll be done. There won't be any more of those particular types of editions, whether it is a piece of merchandise like this puppy, or whether it is a photo or a series of photos, or etc., as well as we'll have an auction on there. We are working on our platform. A Cameo has been very good. I do ask you now not to. I won't be accepting Cameo requests on the app, so that will have to go through the web. If it does come through the app, I will ask you, please resubmit onto the app, onto the web, because I'm no longer actually accepting on the app. Apple takes 30%. Just Apple takes 30%. So it doesn't seem to be right. So I would prefer it to go through the web, and that's the reason I'm doing it. So that one is kind of a rough thing that's going to be happening in 2020. Mark Powers, I can't see that, David. Can you bring that? Yeah, because it's like so. In Endgame, Connor uses a sword clench to compel Duncan into attacking him. How does the unstoppable move work? The unstoppable move that can never be stopped. There is no move in the world that can be stopped, that cannot be stopped. Period. It's called the movies. I mean, the idea we had on that was it's supposed to be set on a spring. So, I mean, F. Bromakash and myself and a couple of, we were kind of working on how this would be. So you'd be tied up in such a way that when he moved you, it would naturally bring you across. But in reality, you could stop your hand if you really wanted that to happen. So it's you know, this is the thing I keep talking about when we do the training sessions. There are things that, you know, are the movies, and there are things that are reality. It's martial arts and the movies, and that's what we blend as much as we can, so that you get some techniques and some things that you can use in reality. But you also have to realize that some of the things that we do are also film based, therefore they have a little bit more flair. They're bigger moves. You don't have to do certain things in a certain way. For instance, we talk about in the Sword Experience numbering system the circle, how the circle is when you cut, how you're moving from one circle to the next. See, this is a figure eight, right? Which would be our upward motions, a figure eight. Or this one here is a circle in this area. We talk about that circle. In reality, that cut is a lot quicker than going all the way around here. But on camera, that doesn't show as much as this does. So we adjust it. But it doesn't mean it doesn't have its application when you do this, because if you do this and somebody's attacking you over here, you haven't been able to stop them or have the mechanics to be able to stop them, because your brain is naturally thinking, this is how I move, and you program yourself to utilize that function of doing this. Therefore, when this happens behind you, you don't have the mechanics to get round there or quick enough. So I always think start large, and then you can hone it down and really concentrate into one specific motion. So that's really what you know, any moves happen. And as I said, there is really no unstoppable move that you know, that gets brought. I mean, it really is you know, the movies. Put it like that. Claudia, what kind of food do I like the most? Well, I like food that makes me not hungry anymore. You know, look, I'm a pescatarian. Doesn't mean I eat fish. That means I eat fish, and I don't eat dairy, and I don't eat meat. I've not eaten meat in 6, 7 years, 8 years, something like 7 years, I think it is now. But you know, if it also means I don't eat cheese, but I will have an ice cream occasionally, or I will have Parmesan on my pasta. I'm Italian. I can't get without Parmesan. It doesn't taste any good. And I do make a really good marinara sauce. Trust me, it's called Babbo's sauce that my kids call it. They want me to bottle it, but you know, can't give away the secret. But you know, there's certain things that I will eat. I mean, my favorite food, I try to balance my foods when I eat, because you know, like my daughter doesn't eat much many fruits, and I'm trying to constantly get the thing in there. You got to eat fruit, because the vitamins in fruit actually help you. Same as vegetables. My son eats a lot of vegetables and some fruit, but there's certain things he doesn't want to eat. So I try to balance it. You know, if in the morning, I usually at least, and I actually forgot it. I knew I forgot something this morning. My shake, I left it at home. I ran out after I made it. I make a fruit shake with all different berries and you know, some vitamins in it. You know, some maybe some quinoa occasionally, maybe some kale occasionally, but a lot of time with berries, strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, mango, pear, depending on what the thing is. And then I have a protein powder, which is good for. It's a protein powder, which has actually been pretty good for. It's a vegan protein powder. That is because those of you who went, oh, wait a minute, protein powders come from animals. No, this one's a vegan protein powder that's actually been made for as you get older, when you're over 50. Not that I'm over 50, of course, but so I put that in my shake. But I also balance that out with other things. Like I will also have a maybe some cereal which is not low sugar cereal, like 4 grams of sugar with a non-dairy yogurt. There'll be a coconut-based yogurt or whatever. Or I'll have sausages and eggs. I'll have eggs occasionally. I'll have, so those things in the breakfast. I always eat breakfast in the morning because I can't go through the day without having some food. If I get to 11 o'clock and haven't eaten, I'm already like, I get hangry. So those of you that have been around me early in the morning and I haven't eaten will probably know what I mean. But, the thing is that during the day, I'll eat fish. We'll have salmon during the week. I'll eat sushi sometimes. So those things, I don't eat a huge amount of fish. I'll adjust the beans and different dishes, lentil dishes my wife makes, which is really good. Stew. So there's a variety of things that I'll eat. But sometimes if you feel a little bit, I try to stay away from breads, but it's really hard because, and I try and stay away from a lot of sugary stuff. But when you get into Christmas time, you got to do that sometimes, And when my kids are going, look what I made you, cookies. I'm like, oh, you made me cookies. Oh, I can't have any of those. I'll have another one, right? So, there are certain times that I think life is about balances, and you say, this is my goal, and, sometimes you veer from it. So that's it. Larry Schwartz. Hey, Larry. How are you, brother? Do you and the family have any holiday traditions? Actually, yeah, we do. I think my wife is very much into, we need to have holiday traditions. And I gave you one of them, which was the shoes at Christmas time on December 6th. We put those out and make sure those are out. We usually, and this is the discussion my wife and I have had for many, many years, because every country has a different day they celebrate Christmas. When I was a kid, it was December 25th was when you had Christmas dinner. And then you would either open the presents in the morning or have breakfast, have Christmas brunch, dinner, whatever, and then maybe open more presents in the afternoon. Well, the way they do it in Hungary or in Europe in some countries, they'll have Christmas dinner on Christmas Eve, the night before, which means, and I was like, well, so when do you open your Christmas presents? I mean, so we've had this discussion backwards and forwards. And so, a tradition, we always kind of have some sort of meat on the table. I will always do sometimes I do shrimp and polenta, which is a kind of a non meat product. Turkey doesn't go well. We have turkey for the kids sometimes, so we have a tradition of dinner. And then the funny thing is in Italy they have something called the Befana. The Befana is the witch who comes after Christmas, and I think I want to say January 6th or January 8th, somewhere at that time. We don't celebrate that one, but we tend to celebrate, getting the Christmas tree down after it starts shedding all its things. And Christmas tree is obviously one tradition we have every year. My wife has been talking about getting a fake one. I don't know if I can do that. I just like putting the fake one in, but it does save the mess, I must admit. And my kids do love to put the tradition of actually putting all the baubles on the Christmas tree. They get so excited and putting up the stuff and getting the cookies for Santa set up. My daughter's gotten to the point now where she's like, did you get me that present, or was it? I'm like, okay, we're getting to that point. And somebody said to me a little while ago, what do you do when your kids are like 11, 12 years old and their friends are saying, Father Christmas doesn't exist, Santa Claus doesn't exist? And one mom actually had a great way of doing it. And she said, I told them that when my kids came and asked me that, she said, well, maybe they've lost the Christmas spirit, because Christmas is about the spirit of Christmas. It's not about believing in something. So maybe they've lost the Christmas spirit and they can't see Santa anymore. So that gave you at least another year or so before it really kicked into, that didn't happen. But the idea of Santa is there. The idea of giving is what Santa Claus is about. It's not receiving, it's about giving at Christmas. And there are a lot of people that are struggling right now. There are a lot of people that are homeless. Ethan Detmeyer goes out to a lot of homeless shelters and delivers food or whatever. So I urge you, if you have extra stuff in your pantry, give it to your local food bank this year. Go out and give it to somebody that needs it. Somebody on the corner, make a little gift bag for them. Make some of your Christmas leftovers, take it out to somebody, because there's a lot of people that are going to be hurting this year, and next year might even be worse. So let's see about the idea of Christmas. So to me, that's what the tradition of Christmas is about. Claire Grace, can you lift that up there? Because I'm going to see this. Okay, I've just lost the whole thing.
What is the most valuable message during the winter holidays that you feel is important to introduce to your kids and family?
What is the most important thing? I think I just said, Claire, the most important message is about giving. It's not about receiving. And this is something, one of the things, kids believe they're going to get it. They're going to get it. I got this. Oh, yeah. Wow, this is it. But I didn't get that. Why didn't I get that? And so our thing to us is you have to be grateful, whether it's a big gift or a small gift. If we can afford it or we can't. There are some kids, and I constantly tell this to my kids, there are some kids that don't even get a present at Christmas. They don't even get food at Christmas. They're living in a car. They're living on the streets. They're in a war-torn area. There are a lot of places that kids don't have that. So be grateful for the things that you get. And I think that's something we're constantly trying to put into our kids so that they don't become that, I want this and I deserve to get this. Because I think a lot of kids and teens these days, because they see things on YouTube and online, that they believe that's what they're going to get. They're going to become famous because they're going to get a YouTube link, or they're going to become famous because they've got 600,000 followers. You're not going to become a movie star to do that. You're not going to become. People might want you to be. You're the guy that is the guy that has the thing where you do the TikTok and you do the ear thing, right? So you get 600 followers to do that. But all of a sudden you want to be more serious and you want to have an acting role. Well, people don't want to see you in that acting role because they're used to you sticking your finger in your ear, right? So the idea is that you have to be grateful for the things that you've got and don't be entitled, thinking you need to get it. So to me, that's something that's very important to have at the Christmas time, because it is, as I said, about giving. And I know I give a lot at Christmas, and I'll get myself a pair of socks maybe. So I'm not really going to be talking about what I get. It's probably what I give, and I actually I feel much better when I do that. So Larry Swartz, with everything I'm doing, how do I keep from spreading myself too thin? Dude, let me tell you something. I am so thin at the moment. It is ridiculous. I have on my computer probably about 30 tabs open of just the internet, because I'm looking about, how to get the end of the year taxes figured out. I'm working the new Sword Experience numbering systems and the choreography. I've got a business in Hungary that needs presentation packages, all this stuff. So I have to, each day I go into the office and go, okay, what's the one I need to get into today that's coming up for tomorrow, the next couple of days. So I try to schedule those things. And that's the only thing, because sometimes you miss it. Occasionally, some of you have seen we've come out late with the some of the training videos, be a day late or a day late with a couple of the podcasts or whatever. That's because, oh my gosh, we forgot to do this, or we didn't get this thing done, because we're trying to still figure out what works, what doesn't work, and how to work that timetable together. I've got a better group of people now, beginning to put them into different positions so that they can start reminding me, Adrian, listen, you haven't done the Film Fight Insights, or the Lifestyle Essentials needs proofing, or whatever that is that they asked me to do. Or I'm looking for new designers right now. I'm looking for new different things at the moment. So I need to figure that out. I need to make sure I'm the one that says, okay, we're going to hire this person, or this is the look that we want, because at the end of the day, it's me that has the final say. And then I can give it to the people and say, now go ahead and do it. But, things like hiring is going to be on my shoulders. So I have to schedule, and try and keep my patience. That's really what it is. Once I go home from here, I then have the baby to look after. I spend at night, I've got the baby, I'm feeding the baby at night at, probably usually goes to bed at 8:30. But by the time I put him to bed, he's about an hour, then he's up again. And I feed him again, and he's back again, then he's up again. So now it's beginning to get a little better. But I'm at bed, like last night I went to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm up this morning at 7. So, it's kind of Sometimes it's just like struggle through it. We'll go through this. It's like this moment in time, guys. This virus that's got us, it's hitting us at the moment. You've got to schedule and go through that and see that light that is at the end of a very long tunnel at the moment. But I believe that once something settles, it'll be done. Because for me, my goal now, as I've gotten older, is to make sure my kids and my wife are set or are set up so that if anything happens to me or anything happens, they're set. I don't have to worry about it. Neither do they. So that's really what my goal. And I think you have to figure out, what is your goal for 2021? What is it? What have you decided it's going to be for 2021? Have you got a new job you want to do? Have you got a new business you want to start? Have you got a new swing you want to learn? Have you got, what is it you want to do in 2021? And then just work it around it. It's the same thing as an actor. An actor, when you're looking at a script, you have an arc for the characters called the overall arc, right? And that's your overall goal. Your goal is to get from here to here. But along the way, how do you achieve that goal? How do you achieve to get here? What are the obstacles that you have in between that actually stop you from reaching that goal? How do you get through those obstacles? So there's a lot of stuff you have to think of, but you need to start with a goal. And I guarantee you, when you do start with a goal, you actually end up having a much better result at the end of it. Olga, what's the most memorable gift I've ever given, and how was their reaction? Most memorable gift. I remember giving my mom a pair, like a ruby bracelet and a pair of earrings, which she actually bequeathed me on her death. So I have those back now, but those were pretty memorable. I've got another gift that I'm going to give my wife soon that's going to be pretty memorable because she doesn't know it's coming. But I'll be interested to see what that is. You know, I think, you know, watching my kids get so excited about receiving a thing is just, you know, and you have to put it down on video. You have to put it on a photograph, because you will forget. And then when you remember it, you go, oh gosh, yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, that was such an awesome moment. You know, so as a gift, I mean, I think the most, you know what, the most amazing gift I've ever been given are my kids, because those moments I can't ever take away. I can never forget the moment of them being born. So now, what have I given? I mean, you know, I think that gift was possibly one, but you know, I think watching my kids' faces when I gave, well, like last time we gave them, was it last year or the year before, we gave them a set of bikes each, you know, a bike each, and left it outside, and they're so excited, they want to ride it, and you know. But then if you give them too many presents, they're like, well, which one? Oh, that skateboard I really wanted. Let's go get the bike. There goes the skateboard out the window, you know. Like, well, I just spent like $150 on that skateboard. Or whatever it is, you know. So, so I think those things are kind of fun to have, and I think those are the memories I have the most. David, what have you got for me? Becky Kephart, do you have any updates on the training tool? Yes, I do. Actually, it is, when we launch the site, the training tool will be available. And we've just done a video for it, and we will have a video explaining the training tool. We will also, with the training tool, be giving away the first four, I think it's the first 8 videos of the training, so that you learn how to utilize it with the Boken, so as if it was a Boken, so you use the same moves, so you get used to it in the Boken. The great thing about the training tool is that it comes on it's one size, 2 different types of handles, so you can choose the handle you want, and the spindles themselves, the different spindles we have 2, one slightly lighter and heavier spindle. You can either put 4 lighter spindles on it, or you can have one spindle and put weights on it, or you can have a slightly heavier spindle, because I guarantee you start putting a pound or 2 on top of that thing and you do a workout for 30 minutes or 40 minutes or half an hour or an hour, you will be feeling it. You don't need to have 5, 10, even if you put 5 pounds in there, I guarantee you it's such a workout because of the torque and because of where you hold it. You know, the training tool itself. Actually, Heather, could you grab one of the training tools out the other room? I'm going to get Heather, one of my elves is working in the other room to get me thinking. I've got Father Christmas Dave here. He just waved, by the way. So it's the one on the shelf at the bottom there, Heather, I think. So, yeah. on the cabinet facing there. So anyway, it has the spindle, so you can put weights on it, and depending on how you hold it, for instance, if you hold it instead of like holding it from the suba, from the guard, you run your hand all the way down to the bottom. Now all of a sudden you've got a much heavier weight that is happening. So for instance here, this is one of the things we were talking about here with the training tool, which is a pin which actually stops it in case it slips out, which it will never do, but we put that just in case somebody decides to just put the weight on and has no safety spindle on it. So the spindles basically are like this, and they just easily come off. And these ones, we were doing it for practice, so if you have 2 spindles on them, it's still fairly heavy after a while. You put 4 of them, and these are the lighter ones, it will now just double the weight of the spindle, which then takes it up to about, I think it's around about just under a pound of extra weight on this area here, not including what this is. You put the other ones on, it gets you about a little bit more. So they're very simple to use. These come standard, and then you can buy a couple of these extra if you need to in the thing. So they're really simple. They come right off like this, and then you put them on. And as I said to you before, it actually has a red guard here to show you where the proper hand positioning is. So if you're turning this way and you're in a supinated position, you don't see the red mark on the top. So if I was like that, all of a sudden I see the red on the top here like this. So I know that my hand's not in the correct position for that particular cut. If I go around this side, I now see all the red, but if I'm like that, I still see the line, which means I'm not in the correct position. So there's a reason to this thing. And then what I was talking to you about a second ago is holding it from here to here. This is where you normally work out, right? Well, as a workout tool, I always tell you to make sure that you're balanced from left to right. So what I would do is utilize it from here. So now all of a sudden you've got much more torque, and it's a lot heavier of a design, and then you have to do it with your right and your left hand to see if you've got your coordination, because this will help your coordination in so many different things if you're doing left and right. And obviously one hand is going to be better and faster than the other and stronger than the other, but if you do it with both, you'll actually be able to, you know, strengthen that left hand so nothing happens. And then you then have this action, so you've got the coordination. Of course, this puppy here stops it from flying off. If you really need to have it, you run it up here all the way up to the end here, and that will even hold it to this part here, all hold it here. So just in case your hands get slippery and wet and it goes out, it's still going to catch you here, so you're not going to throw it at the TV. The idea came from the Wii, I must admit. You know, when you saw the Wii, when they're playing tennis and it goes and smashes the screen. So that's really where it came from. So that's what it is. But it will be available when we launch the site, which is, I'm believing now it's going to be in the next few days. These will be available for use, and we're going to be cutting this video together so that you can see how it is you actually are going to be able to use it.
Benoit wants to know the price.
The price of this, the regular price, and it will be different for Sword Experience members, for Patreon members. This is the regular price is $85 to start with, and then it will go to $95 after the next month or two, because we're going to offer it at the beginning to open it out. So it's $85 for this standard. But for Patreon members, for those of you that have already started, it's going to be a lot. There's going to be a massive discount on this for you. So it's not including shipping, because obviously with shipping it'll be a few bucks just to ship it. But again, that'll be on our site for you to have, and if you're a Patreon member, we will give you a discount to be utilizing this, as long as you are a full $38 Patreon member, because I think we'll give it into grades, which then takes me to Patreon for a second. We're looking at new ways to actually upgrade some of the levels in Patreon. We're talking about giving you more stuff, more gifts, and different levels that you can achieve. Obviously, when we get the site up, we're trying to move the Patreon site possibly to the Sword Experience site, so everything is on one platform, or our online convention platform, our Cameo, our training videos, our Patreon style community will be on one area, so there won't be too far to go when you need to look for something or get something. So that we'll be looking at adding those things to it for you, so that, you know, if you've been a member for a certain amount of time, you will get rewards for that as well. So we're looking at including that, and that'll happen in the new year once we've figured out the new site and that's been launched, and the convention thing has been sorted out. And that then takes me to the amount of events that we have next year. We'll also have on our site a note talking about the events that we have, the ones that are tentatively at the moment. We have, I think, about 7 at the moment, or 8. We've got 5 conventions that have said that they're going to be doing something in 2020. That is yet to see whether or not we actually end up going to these places. And then there are about 3 or 4 places we're already doing inquiries into that we will be trying to launch. But again, all of these will be outside. We probably won't be doing anything till at least the end of February, beginning March time, because I don't think there's many places that are warm enough to do that. So probably March is probably going to be the time before we start doing any live events again, which is why the online platform is going to be so important, because that'll also allow those of you that can't get to our events somewhere to actually work with the community, the Sword Experience community, talk to each other, learn new things, go to different teachers, see different celebrities. Oh, I'm giving it all away. I'm not going to tell you. Anyway, that's enough. That's enough. Can I explain the difference between being famous and being well known? What's the difference between well known? I'm fairly well known. I'm not famous. Being famous is the thing about being famous. Somebody can be really famous or well known. Everybody knows them. In 2019, come 2029, all those people have forgotten them. That person that was famous at that point is now. Think of. I'll give you who did Home Alone? Macaulay Culkin. Extremely famous. One point. Extreme. Everybody knew who he was. He grew up. Everybody went, what happened to him? Where is he? Don't know who he is. And nobody cares. Totally honest. Nobody cares. Because they're on to the next person. They're on to the one that's in front of them right now. So well known is you've been known because you've been well known. Being famous, I think, is the instant right now you're in that public eye. So I think that's the difference between the two. And I always tell people, like, you're never going to be famous forever. And who cares, to be totally honest? Who cares? Because there are so many more important things in life. I mean, I've been really famous. I was well known and famous back in the 90s, early 2000s. I mean, I was, anywhere I went, I would be mobbed. I mean, I'd have, I've talked about it before. I was been mobbed by 30, 40 girls and boys out asking for autographs and all the, in different countries I went to. Russia and France and England. I mean, great. Okay. Now I go, and most people don't look at me. They say, aren't you the guy that did? Yeah, I was. Yeah. And that's kind of, I get occasionally now, but I'm still well known because there's a very large number of people that still know who I am. But I'm not famous because there's a new generation that knows nothing of Highlander. Knows nothing. So you're only famous until that moment in time that you're in the public eye, in a sense. YouTubers, they'll be famous for a minute and they'll be gone. In another 10 years, those YouTubers that watched it will be grown up and onto something else, and they won't care about the guy that did the TikTok like this, or the person that was doing these crazy jumps, because their interests have changed. It's like relationships. Usually 10 years is the amount of time you'll have with a relationship, most of the time. I don't mean you'll still won't be connecting with that person, but what you need from that person will be over, because I truly believe what we want out of a relationship is an answer to something we want. So if we're out and we're trying to look for the best way to do this, we're looking for people to help us do that. The best way to be a successful mom, the best way to be a great engineer. You surround yourself with people that have that like-minded idea, so that you can now connect and swap ideas and coordinate. But as your interests change, your friends will change. Some will stay forever because they've been there forever. But in reality, how much do you now have in common with them? Because the majority of them will have fallen away. There'll be 1 or 2 that still exist that you can still just pick up from where it was. And that's how it is. But in reality, their interests and your interests have changed. So that relationship is kind of different now. So that's kind of what being famous is like. All right. Will there be more Boken options available in the darker wood that we see in the training? Oh, yeah. Oh, there are some beautiful woods coming. I think we have 2 woods in each section. We have first section is what we call our classic. Then we have our superior. Then we have our premium. Then we have our elite, and we have 2 woods in each. So we have 8 woods, 8 different types of woods that are there. We have one called bloodwood, which is beautiful. It's a stronger wood, which is just literally the natural color. And then we have Ipe, which is another beautiful grained wood, again a reddish color type of wood. We have the Catalox, which is the dark wood you see, which will be into our elite version, which is the pressed 2-tone striped wood, as well as bloodwood in that variation. That doesn't mean the other woods that are in our classic, which are our standard woods. That one you have all these options that are going to happen. You're going to be able to choose between hickory or white oak. Hickory's a little bit tougher, very little, but it's very small markup on that. But you also then have 3 different stains that you can choose from with no extra charge. You can choose from any of those stains. You can choose from the handle comes standard. There's one standard handle for that lowest section. The finishes, you have 2 finishes you're going to be able to choose from. You've got several different handle wraps. You've got some beautiful hand wrapped ones we've had before, but we've not really highlighted them. We have 3 different handled styles that will go with all the other woods, and some of it will be in an upgrade depending on the level it is. So we've got the variants you can do to create your own handle, your own piece, will be dependent on what you want to do with it. If you want to put it on a shelf and say, this is a beautiful piece and look at it and I can use this for practice and not have contact, well, you choose this type of wood. If you want to use contact, use this wood because you don't want to put the polyurethane covering on it, finish on it, because that naturally chips because it's a polyurethane. It's like having a film over it. The minute you hit it, it will just start cracking. The wood won't, but it's the film over the top. So then in that case, just use the regular gloss and the wax version, which we give you the kits to actually be able to do that. Or you can go out and buy them for yourself if you find it easier for you to do that. You can do that yourself. But wood is like anything else. You've got to maintain it. You've got to take care of it. And that's very, very important. So, yes, there are a lot of variants in our Boken. It's probably the most we've ever given. It's a whole brand new line. And I'm really excited about it because it's beautiful. We've worked on it for months. And, it's just now being able to deliver it so that you got to choose it. It's easy to choose. And you can then just click it out and it's gone. So we're ready for that to go. Our manufacturer is ready to send it out. He was ready to do our Christmas orders, but I think we've missed those, unfortunately. So hopefully the new year. So Priscilla says, do I like wearing boots on Highlander? Did it interfere with your choreography? Yeah, obviously, if I'm wearing no shoes or flip-flops and boots, it's totally different foot movement. Boots sometimes were okay, depending on what they were. The key thing is that the bottom, because if it's leather on the bottom, that slides a lot more. I mean, think about it. If you've got a trainer that has grips on the bottom, and then you use a pair of leather shoes and try walking on snow, there's a totally different grip. So that's exactly the same when you're on regular ground, whether you're using boots or whether you're using a trainer or you're using some sort of different covering on your foot. It would interfere slightly, and the other thing is the terrain. I would usually try and choose what I was wearing on my feet based on what fights we were doing and where we were doing them. I've talked to you before about location, and about, whenever you're doing any movement, a certain movement might not work in that particular location because it is restrictive. So the same thing applies to the footwear. A lot of the time when we did costume, the way it would work would be that I would, at the beginning of the episode, the wardrobe people would bring me stuff and we'd look at the script and say, okay, I'm using this. What is the weather going to be like? Where are we doing it? What's the action? Are we going to break it? Do we need doubles on it? All those types of things. So shoes were important as well. We had an episode where I was up in the mountains and it said, and McLeod falls into the water. I'm like, okay, it's November in Vancouver and it's freezing. Oh, good. Thanks. The writer just sat there and wrote in, oh yeah, let's draw. But then I had to figure out what I was wearing so that I wasn't going to be cold. So make sure that I had something that was big enough to hide a wetsuit underneath it. Otherwise, I'd be freezing in that water because it's not just getting in the water. It's getting in the water and staying there for 8 hours because you've got filming to do for the entire time. So we had to consider all those things. So shoes were exactly the same thing. We would pick shoes based on, what we were doing and where we were doing it. Next one, David. We have Becky. Do I have a PO box where I receive fan mail? Yeah, there's a PO box that you can always send if you want to send a digital mail. Obviously, through Contact to the Sword Experience, or I think that's the only one we have at the moment. We also have admin at the Sword Experience, but I don't think we'd use that one. There is a PO box. We can do it for regular mail, but I don't really do fan mail because we have so many things online now that it's a lot easier to receive the things, write it off, and do it. I can't be trying to go around to try and figure out and read all the fan mail, because it's as when we first started this thing, how do I actually spread my time out? And that's one of them. I stopped actually doing specific mail. Oh, please send me this photograph, because first of all, I don't have time to do it, and secondly, the cost would be too much in a sense. Once we start doing getting my assistant to go out and mail it, put the postage and do the time and all, so it's a lot easier to actually run it through the platform that we have. So if you want to send anything at all, Adrian's Angels, a great group of ladies who have been around for many years, send me stuff from time to time to the Peace Fund address. That's if we have a piece of mail that can come to us, we'll possibly put it on the new site. So that's as much as I can give you on that one. So Benoit, bonjour Benoit. Do you see a global improvement among Patreon's training? Are improvements
faster or slower than you expected?
Faster or slower than I expected? I actually think they're on the same par as what I expected, because this is one of the things. There has been great improvement by people that have been working on the Patreon. I mean, seriously, if I took what you were doing back in May compared to now, it's a huge improvement. But it takes time, and this is why I said I can't go in there and show you the Sword Experience 12. Here's the 12 movements, because what I've done is I've shown you the result and not the way to get to the result, right? So the improvements have happened because it's taken a slow amount of time. You've done things you didn't even realize you were doing that helped something else. The footwork that we worked on, the stretches that we did, the different cardio stuff that we're doing, help everything, the strength training, all those things help your final result, and that makes you advance quicker. Sometimes people have a harder time than others to do a certain thing, but that doesn't mean they're not any good. It doesn't mean that they're never going to get it. It basically means they just take longer to do. That's okay. Doesn't matter. And I can guarantee you, all of you will have one or two things that you constantly do because it's ingrained in you already. It's the way you walk, it's the way you put your weight, and it takes time to learn a new movement, like I'm doing tennis. It takes time to learn that proper swing, to know where your weight is, to know where you're at. Golf is the same thing, to know where the sweet spot is, how hard you should hit it, how hard you should grip. All those small technical things affect your final result. So all those things that we've worked on and we will continue to work on will actually help those things for you to get better. Now, some of you go, what's my goal? Your goal, and I'm going to be probably implementing this, is to get through different levels now. We're going to start looking at levels of going through different levels of training. And by that, I will be able to see on the challenges if you're able to get through the level. The only problem I have with that, until we can get onto a new platform, is saying, okay, you've achieved level 1. Now, level 1 will be like a test. We'll have, you need to perform this, you need to answer these questions, you need to do this. That's your level 1 training going through. But I'm not going to go through level 1 training and give everybody level 1 acceptance in training until I believe that they've achieved as much as they can or learnt as much as they can on that particular level. And that, again, goes with the goals that we talked about before. You need to have the goal that makes you focused on achieving that. So eventually you'll be doing things like, you know what, I used to be able to not be able to pick that thing up, or I wasn't able to turn around this way as easily before. But that's all what this training is doing subliminally. You don't know what's happening with sword work because it is actually working you out in many different ways, mentally, physically and spiritually. Because we have dealt with things like meditation, which calm you down mentally, which make you calmer. One of the things that my son needs a lot of work on, because kids, especially kids that have a lot of energy like he does, attention span is very short. So the meditation and being able to really concentrate and drop that level down is important. And a lot of us adults don't have time to do that. We spend a lot of time doing this and working the family and going to the job and doing this and doing that. We don't have time to just settle for a minute and really know who we are and understand who we are and understand, okay, take a breath for a minute, because then you start creating a lot better. So all those things, and I think there's been a massive improvement from everybody along the way in different levels. Some people are faster than others, but that I was going to expect. I mean, I spoke to him with Mark Mikita a while back, and he said, people will go through different levels when I teach. I mean, he's been teaching for years, and I make sure that he's much more rigid than I am. But when I go through a system, I want to make sure everybody's learnt that system as well as possible. But I'm not going to give them their belt through that system until they've really learnt it and they've really studied it, because you're not going to be able to build the castle on weak foundations. So you really need to work that foundation, and then you can grow. And then those of you that get better and can go through all that stuff will then start being my ambassadors when we start doing events, because everybody will be following you because you know what you're doing. Right, so you will help me eventually when we do sword experience events. You turn up at them because you know what this is, and you know what the number 1 attack is, or the number 12 attack is, or the 10, and you know what the footwork should be, and you automatically do it. So what I've done for 30 something years, this just didn't happen overnight. Right, I've done this for 35 years or more. And when I first started, okay, maybe I had some better timing because I'd done a lot of sports and choreography and dance and all that stuff. But it still took time for me to really understand. And you can see the difference when you're doing Highlander from season 1 to season 5, the difference in what I was doing. Because it took time. It took me 5 years just to do that, and doing it every single day. 4 or 5 hours a day in some cases. So I'm giving it to you on a 40-minute thing for you to do as many times a week you want to do. And this is one of the reasons I say to you, if you want to improve, you can't just do it once a week. Oh, Adrian just sent me this. It's great. Okay, that's great. Now I can do it for next week. It's not going to work like that. You're not going to improve like that, because you need to ingrain it in your system. So the thing is, constant repetition and constant improvement really help that process. This is the last one we've got. Valjean Morel. I think you might be in France or maybe even Canada. Are swords and martial arts a passion of mine, or more like an exercise? Don't worry, your English is good. No, I think it's, the funny thing is, I think it's a bit of both. I do different other things, other exercises. I do a lot of, I used to do a lot of cross training. I haven't done any in like 8 months now, because it's all indoors. But sword work is actually fun. It's fun to do. I've always I've enjoyed it as a passion. I love watching different things, and I think I've enjoyed it more starting the sword experience than I ever did prior to that, because I had so many other interests. But to really explore it and see all the different styles and that has become fun for me, and teaching has become fun. So it's not a chore. It kind of turned from one thing that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting to go into it, but I always have light weapons. I like double weapons, which I think it's time for me to go back and learn some more teachers from some teachers with double weapons, because that really is a good balance. That's me personally, and I don't think that you're ever too old to stop learning. But again, it's managing the time to do it. So martial art wise, I think it really does apply martial art wise, and as I said, being a teacher, you learn so much more than when you're being a student, because you're not paying as much attention as you are when you're a student. Sometimes you pay attention to what you're doing and what the teacher's telling you, but you're not paying attention to everybody else. And when you learn from what other people are doing. Either they're doing it correctly or incorrectly, and you go, oh, that's what they're doing. Oh, that's what I do. So all of a sudden you learn something. What my view is, when I go to a class, one of our events, I'm watching everybody's movements. So you can imagine all the different ways people are moving and holding the sword and standing and the grip and all that. I'm learning that from myself and being able to sort of hone that out. So I think it's now time I went back to my coffee, because, it's about time Christmas has come. My kids are going to want it. So here comes the fire. I hope you guys have a fabulous Christmas, a great New Year. I look forward to seeing you all in the New Year, and sending you my thoughts on your challenges, for those of you that are going to be sending me in the challenges. As I said, we've got a lot of stuff happening. Keep on our sites. Be good to your friends. say hello to your loved ones. Make sure Christmas is a fabulous time for you, and you look towards next year as something that is going to be a challenge, but you're going to be able to get through. Because I don't say next year's going to be rosy, because I just don't think it's going to be. But I think if you really look at, I'm going to move through this and do why one suggestion to you is, for a species to survive has nothing to do with their intelligence or their strength, but their ability to adapt. So adapt in 2021. Have a happy new year, and I'll see you then.